Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RHAP here on RHAP. We know reality TV. Today we're going to be talking about RuPaul's Drag Race season 17, episode 4. We had a bazonker challenge that I did not understand, honestly, until I even saw it. And even then, I'm still questioning. But we're going to talk about everything. Our second elimination, of course. And with me here today to help break everything down is Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I'm doing well. I loved this challenge, and I think it's because I kind of liked how slightly chaotic it was. I think Drag Race hits well when it's chaotic, campy, and a little bit what did I watch? And also, I don't care what I just watched. That's what I got from this episode.
Right. I'm here to be entertained, right? It
Yeah.
entertains me, you know what I mean? Although
Yeah.
it did make for a very confusing first half of the episode, just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. But don't worry, we'll get into everything, break down what this challenge was, of course, all the results. Amon is traveling this week, so he's not with us. So you just are stuck with Beth and I. We will do our best.
Sorry, it's girls' day.
Sorry. Okay, so Beth, where do we begin? Because we had a main challenge, which we thought was a commercial challenge, but then ended up being like a lip sync challenge, maybe? I don't know.
It was a self-referential acting, songwriting challenge about key moments in Drag Race Untucked history that also was a commercial for That's What I Call Drag. And
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Good start.
it was like a Russian doll of challenge themes.
Yes. So as
Reveal
I'm watching,
after reveal, bitch.
truly, it was the reveal challenge. So I think obviously, of course, I thought it was going to be a commercial challenge. So then I thought it was going to be acting. So that was what I went into the episode thinking that was going to be.
Yeah.
Then I heard the description, and then I was like, oh, this is a singing challenge. And then I watched the actual challenge. I was like, okay, no, it's not a singing challenge. I also Okay, this is my own personal theory. I don't know if you have any information on this, but I think that they did not write their lyrics.
Okay, they skipped over the whole, besides listening to what the vibe of the song is.
Right.
I was under the impression they did write the lyrics, but a lot of the lyrics were based on the actual words of what was said in the scenes and such. So I imagine they were basically like, yeah, just like make the scene fit in a lyric form for like this particular song. And then they went and recorded it. But we didn't see that. And normally for these kind of song recording challenges, we do, which is why I think this was so much more confusing from an audience perspective, because they skipped over one part that, in my opinion, I thought that was a part of what they were creating.
Right.
But to your point, we actually don't know. It very well could have been, because like, why then would they not just have the lyrics in the song and just lip sync it?
Well, okay, so
Right?
that's why. Okay, right. Because what were the queens tasked with doing? They had to potentially write lyrics. They had to definitely record lyrics, and then as a team slash as individuals, they had to put together like a lip sync music video style, right? Because then the
Yeah.
compilation of everything together, that was the editors actually putting together the commercial. So it was kind of like they had to make music videos. Maybe that was the challenge. But okay, and this is maybe gonna seem shady, but like I thought the lyrics were all really good. So that's
yes.
write them.
So you I'm obsessed with that.
No one said they wanted to snatch the crown. So how am I supposed to know that the queens wrote them?
Well, I think so. This is where it took me a while to get to it. And it wasn't until I saw them like actually starting to film everything together that I realized, okay, they had to come up with the lyrics. But as RuPaul said, like they didn't want an exact just, okay, all you do is just say the arguments or the monologues or whatever at each other or to the camera, that it has to be like inspiration for the lyrics of the song or the vibe of what you're going for. So
yeah,
I got that but like what I didn't like, what they should have done, in my opinion, is that they should have just said, here's a list of all the backing tracks listening. And instead of saying this one goes to the Mariah Paris Balenciaga monologue in season 3, and this one goes to Have Your Moment. The queen should have been able to choose which one they wanted and then write the lyrics for it, because it ended up really just giving everybody a platform to go, oh, and by the way, this is the vibe that apparently this song is going for, which half the time I didn't agree with, and other times I didn't agree with it in theory, but I actually think it paid off. And like other times I was like, oh, this was bad all the way around. So I don't know. It was just weird.
Okay, I think that's a fantastic point, because the queens were given the music. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's, whether or not they did or did not write their own lyrics, let's assume they wrote their own lyrics. So they got the vibe of the song, right? So they got whether or not it was a country song or like a lounge song. So that was what was given to them. So the challenge was almost about how can you fit that Drag Race moment to fit the vibe of that song. And I think that's why you see someone like Lexi, where that is not how I would have interpreted Jasmine Masters as moment,
Jasmine Masters.
right? Jasmine Masters. Oh my God, Jasmine Kennedy. And I
just as I thought, trash. Oh God, I want a RuPaul's Drag Race
episode
challenge. If we could have the Kennedy Davenport Center Awards or whatever, if we could have all these other things, we have to have like a music video challenge inspired by the viral videos of Jasmine Masters.
I'm so down. That would be amazing. So
Jasmine
iconic.
Kennedy, on the other hand.
Anyway, so yeah, this is your moment. Have it. Okay, so that moment, right? So especially because in the rehearsal, we get, I can't remember who commented, oh, I don't get Lexi's interpretation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I don't get Lexi's interpretation either. But then she had to match the music.
Exactly.
So what was she supposed to do, right? So to me, okay, when I sort of tried to distill down what I think this challenge was testing, it is potentially a lyric writing. Okay, sure. That one's like a question mark. But let's say lyric writing challenge to adapt a moment to a vibe.
Fair.
Is that like a song vibe, like genre? Maybe that's better.
Better word. Feel like the writing section of the SATs that they've added, where it was like the most generic statement, and then you'd have to sit there and write an essay in the course of like 45 minutes to an hour. And like I took the first SATs that ever had the written component to it, and it literally, the essay prompt was describe human communication, which is like the most open-ended thing that you could possibly write about. And I genuinely felt like the rubric for whatever this was for this challenge was so like, it's, it's like music, but it's also like acting, but it's not acting. And it's also, you have to like put this all together in the scenes and know how to shoot something. But like, also you need to be able, like, I don't blame some of the queens for maybe being a little lost at times that we saw, and people being like, I don't know if she really knows what her scene's going to do. Well, I don't even know if you guys know what you're doing as a challenge. So I don't blame y'all.
So, and I think the other reason why it was so confusing for me is because, and this is what I wrote down last week. Okay. This week, the queens are tasked with doing commercials inspired by iconic Drag Race moments. Never once lyrics, never once song, never once music. Nowhere in there is included. So I think that's why when eventually the challenge started happening, it was like, because I went in with a preconceived notion, because we've had commercial challenges before where they have to sell a product. So I thought, they're going to have to like sell the moment or so. I don't know. Like they'll figure it out.
Sell the moment that's yours so you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right. Well, I think that's enough. We spent 10 whole minutes just trying to figure out what the hell they were doing.
But I do think it, like, if it just had a little bit more structure or ownership of the queens being able to choose something, I think it would have just made a little bit more sense. But it was hard to know, like, what are they specifically being judged on? Because if it were the lyrics, like, they really just didn't bring the lyrics up too much in the judging. And so that's also another reason why I kind of go, you know what? Maybe they didn't write them. I don't know. Maybe it was so bad, like whatever they were doing, and that the producers just said, you know what? We're going to write the lyrics for you guys. Please just put together something good for television.
That's a fantastic point, because usually in the judges, we'll have at least one judge says, you wrote this in your lyrics, and that I really like that lyric. Like that was a clever lyric or whatever. None of that. So
yeah, Ross Matthews wasn't on the panel, so we knew that.
Yeah.
You know that feeling that like when you say a certain thing that makes you do blah 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 blah. You gave me that.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's is there anything else you want to say in general? Otherwise we can get into the individual queens' performances in
I do want to just say generally that despite us ranting about it for 10 minutes, I actually really like this episode. I really liked the challenge. And I thought the final product overall was very entertaining to watch. And I loved, I've said this for a long time. I think we should be doing self-referential challenges and moments and such. Because there is kind of that fun aspect of it that's like, you forget that RuPaul, this is a show about RuPaul at the end of the day, and you forget because we like to make fun of the fact that RuPaul doesn't remember anybody's names or anything. But it is funny when all of a sudden you're like, yeah, the moments of this show that are the best are the ones that are these queens creating drama and like expressing themselves and doing all this stuff. And it's great that RuPaul like knows about that stuff when, you know, they're not necessarily on screen, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think it's fun.
I echo that as well. And I'm all for any challenge that makes the queens interact together because you're casting these fantastically entertaining human beings. Make them talk to each other, like make them, you know, be upset and be mad, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. So the fact that they were split into two teams, to be honest, especially when it came to the judging, didn't really matter all that much, but it created some interesting dynamics with, you know, oh, is Crystal like taking over the group and all that fun stuff. But, you know,
I felt like there were so many red herrings in the rehearsal process of like Crystal's taking over, you know, we don't know if this looks good or, oh, they really look awkward or whatever with like Lana Jarre and like, Arietti? Was that Arietti was the
Arietti was the one with Jules.
With
and
Jules.
Then Lana and Lydia.
Lydia.
I mean Butthole. Sorry, I didn't refer to her by appropriate name. Butthole
so a lot of people were like, oh yeah, we don't know. Or like yelling at Hermona to like emote. And like what we saw was nothing what we saw at the end. And I don't know. I just felt like everything, for the exception of a couple of comments, were pretty much red herrings. But I don't know. I loved the challenge. I like what you say, like the ability to have people interact and have these moments that like, especially now, the vast majority of this cast, and we get a little bit of this not confessional, but conversational moment with Lexi Love about these are a lot of queens who started drag because they wanted to, because they was on television and accessible, or it was on YouTube and they could follow tutorials. And Lexi, even though she's still just a couple years younger than me, is still from an era of drag, which still exists, of course, but where she had to do drag in order to survive. You know, she got kicked out of the house. She was taken in by somebody. This is how she was able to make some money, be entertaining, and also live in the truth of who she was and explore that part of her gender identity. And at a time where she should not have been abandoned by her family. Excuse me. So when you have moments and challenges like this that allow people to kind of celebrate the thing that brings everybody together in a campy kind of fun way, but also make it so that, okay, you guys are in charge of your own scenes, but you have to utilize these things or whatever. It just bring in the different experiences and such. I just think it's a great way to showcase it. It's this kind of challenge.
We did get a lot of those moments also in the workroom on the runway day where whether it was production pushing some questions, because some of them felt a little bit awkward, like Joella's was so awkward.
Joella's I was literally getting up to refill my glass when and I heard that, and it was like the producer just like jumped out of her mouth. Like it was a producer's voice being thrown through Joella's body, being like, so I really try to be in touch with my cultural background when I'm in drag, and I know you do that really well, and I'm trying to figure out how I could get better at it. So Anya, what do you do to It was like, oh no.
I know. It was really bad. Oh, it's so funny though.
Actually, the follow-up to that moment, this is just one of those moments too where I don't know if on the show Joella has talked a lot about being Chinese, but it was just one of those moments where when Anya goes, and that's like you know, with being Chinese or something like that, I just had a moment where I was like, she's Chinese, right? Yeah, she is Chinese. But I had this moment where I was like, I hope that wasn't just like an assumption and it's not. And then I was like, Beth, you're the one who's being racist in this moment. And then they were like, oh yeah, do you speak Mandarin? She's like, yes. And I was like, okay, that should have been the conversation before, because I don't think it was brought up as much, because she's not really been somebody who's been talking about her background, her culture, her ethnicity and such. But I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, I hope. Okay, she is. Okay, great. Yep.
Well, I think that's also why it felt a little awkward, was then,
Yes!
because it wasn't anything like related to her story necessarily
Exactly.
before, but you know, she's going home tonight, so we got this bullet point we want to bring up. Okay, so can you like ask this question now, please? Thank you.
If a producer comes up to you and asks you to say something to another person, the way my paranoid brain would be like, oh, I'm going home tonight. And in that moment, that's where I start drama instead. You wanted me to ask this question? Okay. What if instead I said, Liana, how come you're such a fucking bitch? Like,
yeah, let me
that's
take a
my question.
In a desperate attempt to stay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, let's get into all of the different performances. So essentially I have the looks, and I feel like we can just go through the looks and the performance. I am not going to lie, for some of these queens, I do not have much to say when it came to their performance. For example, Lydia Butthole Collins. Like, her and Lana did the No Class, No Manners, which was the Mystique Morgan fight, which is so funny because originally when Ru says, oh, Lydia, you're going to be playing Mystique, I was like, are we sure?
But why were the roles assigned when it didn't matter?
Yeah,
that's what my point is. Like,
because of the lyrics.
Why? Like, that's just the thing that I thought was so weird.
Because they had to sing the lyrics assigned to them, Beth. That's I'm going to my conspiracy theory. So I don't know.
If anybody knows for
sense.
Sure, comment please on the YouTube, or come like, or add us on Blue Sky or wherever, because I want to know this.
Right. I mean, I think Lydia and Lana both did fine. Serviceable, safe, I would say, for me.
I thought they did a good job, considering that's absolutely not what the vibe of the song would have been that I would have chose. Yes. And the fact that it was a little drier and they allowed the physicality to take the joke was actually, I thought, pretty smart. I think it could have been 2-1 note at a high energy the entire time, but to have like it be like, we're aware that we're singing this as a song to be sold, like that's where I felt like the challenge actually got really captured. So I really like that. I will forever have Crystal as the tumbleweed in the background in my mind. And the fact that they did like 50,000 takes and she just kept going over and over, I was like, you better. I have not been the nicest to Crystal on this podcast. And I have to tell you, this episode has started to change that around. I'm starting to actually see Crystal kind of break from this like monotonous kind of line, so to say. And I'm really, I really enjoyed her in confessionals and what she was able to put together this week. So, but the tumbleweed thing was iconic. I also like that they didn't think, maybe there's a fan that we could blow the tumbleweed across with. Instead, let's just have Crystal do somersaults.
I'm so mad the judges didn't talk about it. I was like, why is no one addressing the tumbleweed in the room?
Yeah.
Please talk about this. But
I want them to redo that Vine of when they throw the little kid into the, like the Wii bowling and everything, but I want it to be Crystal.
Yes, I love that. Ugh. I totally echo what you said, that this is not the song type. The country is not what I would have chosen for this, but I think that Lydia and Lana, they kept their energy up. It wasn't super boring. I will say this was the first one that we watched, so I was still confused about trying to figure out what the hell was going on, but that's neither here nor there.
Liana with the, it wasn't super boring.
Yeah, it wasn't super boring.
It was just boring, but it wasn't super boring.
No. It was more, I think the issue that I had is, right, because it's the first one, I was just confused. Yeah. So I was just trying to figure out what was happening. And then they also just filmed it in Untucked. So there kind of felt like this, we don't give an F kind of vibe to it. But I get the fact they put it in Untucked because the a lot of the fights, right, were potentially were like untucked fights or something like
Yeah.
that. So like I get it, but it just felt like there were the puzzle almost came together.
Yeah.
The pieces didn't quite 100% fit for this challenge in general, but that's not Lydia, that's not Lana's fault. I think that they both did very well.
Would you say it was like a homemade quilt of
It
different?
was, oh my God, it was all patchwork together. See, that's why they did it for this week, which that is the runway theme, quilted for your pleasure. Love that.
It was.
Um,
I did snicker when I heard that.
Same.
Do you think I don't think I remember what her voiceover was here. Is this supposed to be colon-esque
Oh,
inspired?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember.
Because I kind of feel like
I could see it.
she's leaning into the butthole of it all, and like I think it's a cool outfit. I think it's really well done. That is absolutely quilting and patchwork and all that kind of stuff. But then you also have like the little tail kind of stuff that looks like an intestine or something. So that's why I was like, I wonder if it's supposed to be a like the large intestine or a butthole or something. Because that puppet in her first thing was supposed to be a butthole.
Right. That was news to
So
me. Yeah.
I think maybe we have a lot to look forward to.
A lot. Yeah. All right. A lot to squeeze out. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
Okay. Let's talk about lingerie. So also does feature quilted material on the main bodice. I'm not sure I 100% understood the hair component to it, but it was geometric. It was cool. It was safe.
I felt like, yeah, quilted is happening here. So it is quilted for her pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have looked at this runway and thought, oh, quilting was I think I would have thought like layers or something like that. That said, I think this is such a cool outfit, and I love like the boot covers that go like halfway up the shin, and because she has just those beautiful long legs, it just really helps to like showcase how elongated her figure is. I actually like the wig because I think this is the only time you could wear something like that. So why not go for it? You know what I mean? Like this kind of outfit. I think why not? It looks like a really bad poodle cut in a way, like those like dog haircuts, but like it works with what she's got going on. I really liked this. I thought it was unique and cool.
Yeah. We have to next talk about Joella. So Joella, our delusional queen, who one felt super confident about her performance in the challenge and also felt super confident about her runway look and ended up going home. Where do we begin with Joella, Beth?
I don't know. I am so obsessed with this runway look for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Like I love that she tried lip syncing. And literally thought that would work. And I love a big swing and miss. That's like one of my favorite things in the world, because that's one of the best ways for you to grow as anything, but especially as an artist. The thing that I have to start with Joella and saying with the delusional parts that we love about her, I was kind of obsessed with everybody crying over Lucky Stars going home, and she's just like,
what about me?
What is me? Because I so identify with that energy. I would definitely be that girl internally. I don't think I would show it the way that she does, but that was so real of her. Like I loved that. This is a washcloth. You know what I mean? Like I know it's not. I know it's supposed to be a quilt or whatever.
Oh.
Well, I think it's supposed to be like a bed sham, or like the back is like the pillow part and the front is the RuPaul. But and then with the worst shoe that you could possibly pair with whatever this is, I thought that there would be a reveal so that like maybe all of it comes down and isn't interesting, like ball gown or whatever. I'm obsessed with the fact that she made a hole that is not big enough for her face. That's amazing.
You just see her like little teeny tiny face like recessed within the quilt. So
I
funny.
love camp, and I love this being so campy, but it also needs to be a runway look. It's not that.
But I was so entertained by this. I was
I
so
know.
entertained by the fact that she just shuffled down the runway in this big ass thing, didn't take it off. It was amazing. I don't know. Like, obviously, I understand why she went home. I understand all the reasons why she ended up in the bottom. But from just a pure entertainment perspective, like, this was beautiful to me. That, and then also the gospel performance, which was all over the place with her like falling down, and it was just so many weird choices were made. It was like a car crash. It was one of those situations where I couldn't look away.
Yeah. This, I, so shady of the editors to keep in when she was like clearly nervous about the stairs that she was on, and the other queens were like, she's nervous about falling. And then like she literally does go, ah! I was like, oh my God, when they were filming it. Yeah, I felt like she did give energy, but she's a queen that doesn't know how to engage the face if it's not something that she's probably rehearsed like a bunch of times, right? So a Katy Perry song that she knows like the back of her hand, I'm sure there's no one better to give face to something like that. When it is something that you have a quick amount of time to really get into your bones, and I'm sure are going through a little bit of a self-conscious crisis where you were just in the bottom, people were upset that the other person left. Nobody seems to be really kind of gelling with you right now, and you're clearly fiercely who you are. Like all these things, like I have to imagine there was a lot of deer in headlights moments that were inspired by that. That said, it's drag competition, so you got to show up, and if you're not showing up, get out. So
yeah, I think in a similar vein with the face, I mean and this is gonna come back in the lip sync as well. But I was like, does she know the words?
no.
Does she really know the word? Like, I don't think she knew the words to either the gospel or the lip sync song. So that
And if you're
also
gonna
was not
only show your
ideal.
face in
Yeah,
the first part,
exactly.
know
Well,
the
I
words.
was watching with a friend of mine, and she was like, okay, Joella sticks her head through the tiny hole and then is like, I am gonna do all the lyric right here, the whole pointing at the lips, right? We're doing the Coco Montrese. If that had happened, okay, maybe that's a way to save yourself.
For sure.
So I just
Not turn around and pretend that RuPaul is lip syncing
so many choices.
the rap part. Like, what is happening? Like,
I don't know.
oh God.
Oh God. Okay. Let's move on and talk about back rolls. So this was Jules and Arietti who were performing together. So I have Arietti's up first. This is the order that they went through in the runway. So Arietti does end up in the bottom, Beth. What did you think about that decision?
I didn't think she should have been in the bottom. I felt like she did fine in the challenge. But I feel like it was just so clear who was the bottom two. They had to throw somebody there. And I do think that the runway look ended up being something that they put her in the bottom for. I think the concept is really cool, but I agree with the judges. That does not read as quilt or quilted at all. And the concept, again, I think is really unique and cool, but it does come across as one thing kind of haphazardly attached to another outfit rather than being an integrated like quilt material and leather, pleather, whatever it is, latex kind of move. So I understand that. And I think that, this was just a great way for Michelle to have her moment of saying like, oh yeah, like stop doing your one thing that we hired you to do. Like what, like,
I know, which is, no, it's just so funny that if you have a girl come out every single week in the same Raven beat, no one blinks an eye. But God forbid someone do something slightly different.
It drives me crazy. Like, don't cast someone like Dusty Ray Bottoms if you don't want the dots on the face. Don't cast someone like, Anitra who puts the scar or whatever here. And like, no one ever read Anitra for that, right? This is clearly how she does her makeup, so just allow her to do it. That is just so weird to me. I understand wanting to show versatility, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I echo that. I also totally agree. I thought at first that this was something she had repurposed. Like she had the latex and then she just wrapped some fabric around herself. That was what I was thinking. Upon closer inspection, there's some, I don't know, it still might be the case that she just wrapped a bunch of stuff around this. So I do agree. That's why she ended up in the bottom. Additionally, in the actual challenge itself, I think because Jules did so well, I think that Arietti then just looks not as good by comparison, just simply because Jules did so well. So that's not really like on Arietti specifically necessarily, but like the judges critiqued, it's like, look, you got to bring it then to the same energy if someone is going to try to, is ultimately going to outshine you.
And you're the Alyssa character in this, so you have to be bigger. Again, I don't think anything besides what lines people were saying. I never got that people were trying to do impersonations of the queens, which I do think is what they kind of told the queens. You don't have to do that. But I don't know. If you're doing back rolls should have been not just back rolls.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So there's aspects of that with the physicality. Sorry, for those who were listening, I did the head turn that
she does in the confessional.
That she does in the confessional and such. But yeah, no.
Well, her partner in crime was Jules Sparkles. And yeah, I think Jules, just the facial acting that she did, especially with the powder puff, I think that that's the reason why Jules ends up being safe. And then her look, it's quilted for sure, like space bun, quilted, queen of the quilts in the future energy is what I'm getting from this.
I love this. And I love that from different angles, it's like 2 or 3 different shades of blue, which is kind of cool. Like the way that the light catches it, it can be either a little closer to like a deep indigo, or it can be navy or anything like that. I just thought this was cool. I love the color hair with this, and I love that color hair, that red on her. When she came out with this beat, I literally was like, "Is this Anitra?"
I know.
Just without the scarf, and
so
she
good.
just looks so good. And this is like a versatility of changing your mug a little bit, and I get that. I thought she did a great job in the challenge. If I didn't know better, she was Alyssa Edwards, even though she was the J. Jolie part. So if you're gonna go with, oh, Jules was bigger and better and all that stuff, it's like, well, she also was acting like more like Alyssa Edwards, even though that wasn't her character. So like, what's the rubric here? Because like, I think that it was entertaining, and I would have absolutely put her in, the top, the whole 9 yards. But this is just one of those aspects of when you go to judge it, it's hard to do that without understanding what the judgment is on. But this was great. I thought this was a great week for her. I'm going to be shocked whenever she ends up in the bottom, if she ever does.
I know. That's why I'm like, Final Four. I'm locking her in for Final Four. I think
1,000%.
especially now that we've seen some acting from her, I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm like, what can't she do? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Exactly.
Because we know she can move and dance. We know that she can construct, and we know that she can act. So
what else?
I wonder, improv. I think that she did pretty well trying to come up with stuff in the moment. So I think she's going to be good.
Let's talk about Hormona Lisa next. And she was someone who, in the rehearsal, we kind of saw some questioning of, oh, what is she doing? I don't really get it. Girl, act. But in the final performance, I thought this was fantastic.
I agree. That was one of the big red herrings. Was that it was supposed to be as if like Hormona Lisa was just going to be really bad. But I've always gotten the sense that she knows what she's doing with her physicality and face and such. And like, she's not, I think a lot of people are, pardon this with her beautiful dress, but sleeping on her, so to say. I do think that she's somebody that people underestimate. And a lot of it's probably from that like sweet persona and that Southern accent and that kind of thing. And I think inherently there's that jealousy of discounting. This is someone that RuPaul chose ahead of time or whatever. I love this runway. I love the Dolly inspiration, the coat, many colors, which is, that's what Trixie was trying to do with her confessional look in All Stars 3, was having like the patchwork kind of flannel of whatever, denim flannel that he was wearing. But I love this dress. I think it's cute. I thought this would have been a perfect one for her to showcase the trans colors with. And last week could have done better with these colors. But I was like, oh well. But I thought this was cute. I don't know if I like the hair with this dress, to be honest. I felt like the hair was very, I don't know, we're going out in the 40s, 50s, or 40s ish, maybe.
Well, I think it was supposed to be like 40s housewife. And then that's like the coat and thing. And then that's why the hair went with it. That was my
Gotcha.
interpretation. I also, if I were to hear quilted for your pleasure, this is the first thing I would have thought of. So
Agreed.
when she walked out, I was like, yes, you nailed the brief. Like, I love this. You can obviously tell it's quilted. To me, very clear, very pretty. I actually really like this. I thought this was a really good week for her, despite what the edit was saying.
I agree.
Good. Speaking of someone who had a good week, Crystal Envy ends up in the top for both her performance in the main challenge and as well as her look. And I think she absolutely deserved it. And you mentioned this at the top of the show, Beth, that Crystal, to me, we're now starting to get to see her personality, and I'm starting to become intrigued. So I'm hoping that we get to see more of her and more of that side of her, because that's somebody who I'm interested in.
There's a stoic nature about her that we don't traditionally see on a reality TV, but B, also on a show like Drag Race that's going to inherently have big personalities and that kind of thing. And she has a big personality, and I've learned that this episode, but it does come across as a little bit more monotonous or like monotone to a certain extent. And so to see a couple of different levels to her this week was really cool. And I think the reason why this look in particular really is striking on her is that she's not going for that blonde look that we have come accustomed to, which feels very cookie cutter at times. This feels like she has stepped out to say, no, 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 I'm a pageant girl. Don't you forget it. Here's how I do it. And this is what I was waiting for to see, this kind of like, oh, I can be grand in addition to being, a pop princess pretty queen. I thought that her ability to do the Latrice Royale unprofessional monologue was really fun. I don't know if I would have known that that's what the reference was that she was doing. But again, rubric, what are we doing? We don't know. I was entertained by her, and I loved seeing how she operated behind the scenes and not being afraid to take charge and tell people what to do, but not also be a bitch. That is huge. That is so hard to do on these shows. So major props to her.
And to be her little tumbleweed rolling along.
I can't believe she didn't get bonus points for that.
I know.
Or at least that aired.
I echo what you're saying in terms of not knowing what the reference was from, because all I can remember is, good God, get a grip, girl.
Right. Like, why was it the 5Gs?
But okay, fine, whatever. I guess she, I mean, I was entertained by her, and according to the rubric of the challenge, she did a good job. So I can't argue with that because like I said, I was entertained.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the volume 2, the second group. And we kick things off with Susie 2 doing Aja's "You're Perfect. You look like a model. You Linda Evangelista." So, what do you think about Susie?
First of all, that was the easiest layup of a song for anybody, and then give it to somebody who actually knows how to act and such. I don't mean to take away from Susie at all, because I think that Susie executed that song perfectly, and if they did write the lyrics, I think Susie did it incredibly well. That said, it didn't seem like they were going for the normal, what you would assume kind of, I don't know, vibe of the songs. Like the fact that Morgan and Mystique were country was really weird. So to me, having a song that is angsty sounding and that kind of thing, like, I don't know. I just felt like it was a layup. But again, I digress. I thought, nailed it. I thought she had probably the best, if not the best one. And I gotta give her all the props in the world for going, oh, I don't have to put the other queens in my video. Then why would I have anybody steal focus? effing genius, playing the game the way you should. If there's no requirement, you better go for it. And I love that these queens are playing like Survivor players and trying to figure out how to work around production to a certain extent. I don't even care that last week people had, Hermona was using her own beads or whatever. Like, I'm all about it. Work around whatever you're given as a prompt, and then hopefully you don't get fucked over like Ramona did. But whatever.
Right.
As far as the look goes, this look is incredible. It is not quilted for your pleasure in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it didn't immediately scream quilt to me. I think also, especially, I had seen Hormonas at this point, so I was like, that's the bar for the quilt. And it just, yeah, I think top but safe was ultimately safe was probably the right call for Susie. I maybe even would have considered putting Jules. I'm cautious of my bias. But Susie, and I think Susie, in terms of the actual performance in the challenge, she benefited from the fact, in terms of my appreciation for what she did, with the fact that I had seen the first group go. So I was like, okay, now I know what's happening.
Yeah.
And Susie kicks things off, and I'm like, she nailed it. She nails it. Like, rock version of the song. It was so good. Rue's dying. So you know that that's going to go in her favor. I really think that Susie just killed it in this challenge. She's another one that I'm like, I'm really thinking she's going far. So we'll see.
I like that she didn't do a 30s-esque beat here either. Mm-hmm. So she is already proactively being like, I'm not going to always do the Betty Boop lip, whatever. So,
oh my gosh, the editors being so shady when it was, Michelle gives her critique about, oh, changing up your makeup. You normally come out here looking like this, and now you're changing your makeup up. Shot of Arietti.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh God. You know what she should do? You know what they should do next week? Just to fuck with Michelle. I'm gonna. You know what? This is a cry for help. Help me out. People who are going to be on season 18. If two of you anticipate you're going to have some kind of Michelle Visage moment like this, I want you to swap your mugs. I want you to come out like if Susie came out with like the white painted like nose, and Arietti came out with like the 30s 40s makeup. And just not say anything. And just see what happens. I think it would be so effing funny.
I would love it so much. Or if they could all come out in the Arietti nose next
yes,
week. Like, that would just
revolt against her.
Exactly.
I would have lifted. Are you kidding me? I would have pulled all those levers. Just see if you can get it right in the tank. Oh, only one? What are you going to do? Make me put them back?
Reshoot I know. I already pulled them all.
She's already wet, people. Rigged. I'm sorry. You're going to redo it? Yeah. Yes, I'm staying.
Okay, let's talk about our next group. So this is Star Quality. This was the Candy Tamisha moment with Sam as Tamisha and Acacia as Candy. So they're the ones that have the song that they interpret as tango, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or something. They were like, okay, we're interpreting
it was
this
tango.
Way. And then the song was, someone else said, oh, the song's not really giving that. And then they're going to drop her. This was fine. I don't know. This might have been the next one that I was kind of like, if we need somebody else in the bottom. Neither of them did like absolutely terribly, but I think just the interpretation of how to use that moment with those lyrics and make a music video. Yeah. That to me was a little bit of a miss.
I definitely agree. I love the idea of trying to do a tango because you see it like probably most famously in like the musical theater world in Rent with the Tango Maureen. You have two people who are at odds that are a tango and they come together through the tango. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is Tamisha and Candy have never come together. So like I would not necessarily have been like, oh yes, that's that song that is about one of these conflicts or whatever. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a good job, but I genuinely was like, next. I wasn't as entertained. Like with what they were trying to do, I thought that they did it fine. I just don't think it matched what the vibe was.
Yes.
And I was just kind of like, okay, next when they were done. In terms of this look though, I thought that this was really cute. It felt like, that homage to Courtney Act coming out in the sleeping bag. And, I think Courtney had a teddy bear, didn't she? When she came out?
I think so.
Or something. So I thought that was really cute. I love the hair all over the pillow and that kind of thing. This is this is camp and drag. And you know, it's cool that Joella chose to go as just the sham.
Right. This is like the different interpretation of maybe the original Joella concept, perhaps. A little bit more
Oh my
elevated.
god, I'm so sorry. One
Yeah.
more thing, can you go? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Remember last week I was like, "Oh yeah, she's like giving every blonde bad person in like a pageant movie or whatever, anything like that."
Hmm.
Somebody posted the meme that she is the mom in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake movie in like 2000, what was it, 8 or something, that she's like the track star mom with like the bob or whatever, and
Yes.
her daughter's the one that's Violet that chews all the gum. And I was like, holy crap, the resemblance is actually quite canny. So it's so good. Oh, so yes, take a look at that sometimes, people.
Okay, let's talk about her partner in crime, Acacia Forgot. Same critiques for me sort of apply to the main performance, but I really liked her runway look, especially the fact that she said that there was stuff that was made by her mom, stuff that was made by her grandmother, stuff that was made by her great grandmother. That's just so cool to be able to weave in that history. So I just appreciated it both from the look and from the historical perspective, I think.
I agree, and I love like the lacy hair bonnet that doesn't steal focus. It feels like it's a part of the texture of the hair, how it matches the sleeves and the lace that's ruffled in there. My problem is, at least from like an on stage perspective, you don't see the
Mhm.
quilting as much as you do see like the lacy doily-esque parts of the sleeves and such. So I think
Mm.
that for me, it was almost like the quilted part wasn't big enough. But the fact that it has all that family history in it, we're getting a really good sense that, you know, the those familial ties to her music and her country background just feel very like American Midwestern kind of vibes. And I
Mhm.
think that that's really fun and cute.
Well, and she's the person who's talked about, I'm doing like she loves music, right? That's sort of like her true passion. So I think she's sort of selling this like her full realized package of who she is, and I think that's really nice to kind of be able to
Agreed.
see that now, especially given the fact I thought she was going to go home first. So I'm happy she's continuing to be on the show. Sorry. Let's move on to Anya. So Anya, one funny moment for Anya, I saw this on Reddit where on the YouTube auto-generated like whatever captions called her Onion Earth. Did you see that?
No, that's amazing.
So Onion Earth, which I can hear it. I could see why it interpreted it that way. But anyway, so now whenever I see her, that's all I think about is Onion Earth.
It's so nice that she has layers to, you know, to
Right?
really peel back. Like ogres and onions. This outfit is beautiful to me. I
Amazing.
love this is how you take something that is a kind of play in what we would think about quilts. And
Mhm.
I agreed with you. When I saw her Mona Lisa come out, I was like, that's the briefing. I get it completely. This is how you then take it and go, oh, yeah, well, you're thinking about it from like a very American, European, Western kind of perspective. But here's quilting and applying it with all of this beautiful, you know, fabric and textures and textiles and such.
Mm.
Absolutely gorgeous, and the way it wraps around and is also embedded into the oh my gosh, is it a bandeau? I'm trying to remember what the name of
The
the
headpiece.
scarf headpiece is, but
Mm.
I just thought this was absolutely gorgeous. I love that hair. And I love, 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 love how like her shape is. Like this is the best I think she's looked so far.
I love the look. I loved the performance. I think across the board, she just absolutely nailed it this week. And, again, we can talk about this. We're going back to like the Thorgy of it all with so and so got the easier, the easier one to do. But I do think that Anya she commanded that. And I think the benefit of what we got to see as the audience is her in the rehearsal. So showing her commanding the space. I want a camera here. I want a camera here. You could tell that was her vision, her vibe. She executed it and nailed the whole thing to perfection. I think she got the assignment. She's also a good singer. My God. Onion, what are we doing here? So I was so happy with her. I think she absolutely deserved the win this week, and I'm just excited for more opportunities to get to see Anya Nerve do all the things in Drag Race.
I won't lie, when Put Your Lighters Up first came out, like when they said that, I immediately did not think Laganja and what the reference actually was. I don't know. I thought it was Where My People At with Roxy. So I'm going, Put Your Lighters Up. Wait, that's not it.
Yeah.
Whoops. But the way that she was able to like scat and like do this incredible jazz number, I was actually laughing out loud. And at the very end, where she does the spoken, like, it's very dry, sort of like your vagina. I lost it. Like, legitimately, she just has such a captivating energy. I think Anya Nerve is going to go really far in this competition because RuPaul said it either last week or the week before. He's like, everybody knows that woman that you're doing on the runway. Everybody knows that one Black woman that's walking down the runway and just has all the confidence in the world and you can't tell her shit. And she's over it and she doesn't need to tell you anything. She could just serve it to you with a look. I love that so much. And she just captures so much fun energy that I can't wait to see when she's in a confessional or on the runway or whatever. She's just so captivating to me.
I completely agree. That's why she's in my final four, and I stand by it. Let's talk about our next queen, Lexi Love, who does the Jasmine Kennedy moment. And yeah, I mean, look, I thought that her performance was good. I think she deserved to be safe. I think the look is absolutely gorgeous. To me, it doesn't 100% read quilt the first moment that I see it. I think right? Like where I mean the quilt part, it's tough with the black, right? Because
it's tough with black, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't get to see that quilted texture. So I think that that's just the only thing that's missing, but this is stunning.
I think this is such a cool effing look. But I also, because it is black and because the quilting itself is going to be hard to read, it would have been better if like the threading that provides the quilting was like a pop out color or something. Like what if it was white or something that really could showcase when you're on the stage with all those different lights, because the texture that you added with the jewels and like the netting and the fishnet kind of aspect is going to be easier to read, and therefore that's going to take the focus, not the quilting. So I don't know. Lexi was somebody I weirdly considered being in that bottom spot near Arietti, because I also felt like, not that it was completely her fault, because I just felt like it was a weird song moment, but I kind of was like, okay, next, when it came to her song as well. So I felt like this week was kind of a lower point from what we've seen from Lexi and from Arietti, but it wasn't so bad that I just sit here and be like, oh my God, like what a slip up. Like it's not like that to me. But that said, I mean, this look is so effing cool to me. And I love that she just, I don't know, maybe she borrowed it from another queen, but whoever brought that huge effing wig that she wore as Jasmine was like, that was like,
I loved it.
I actually thought at first they were trying to be Alyssa Edwards. Like, and then I was like, oh, no, Jasmine, not Alyssa. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Our final performance to talk about is Corey King, who ends up at the bottom and the bottom two, lip syncing for her life. She does the Glamazon bitch, and this was where I went back. What do I think the challenge is? I think the challenge is interpreting the moment in the style of the song, and it just was a huge miss for me. Such a miss in terms of the interpretation. It's not what I would have done at all. It wasn't funny. It was just not that good.
Why? She had, in my opinion, the easiest one besides maybe Susie to do, where the song was so generic enough you could have actually just made the entirety of the song and the music video you having your night with Trade, him not liking the session, so he had gutted you, but you see you didn't die. Instead, you was like, what is it? I was revived or whatever, and came back as a glamazon bitch ready for the runway, right? Crystal, but you see, I didn't die. I had crystallized because yes. So, and the fact that Kennedy was also back on All Stars 3 and did a redemption runway, that also was not that redeeming for this effing look. You could have done the first look, and if you wanted to do a reveal it into the second bad look that she did, and just really make that a moment. I think that where I want to give her props is that she tried to tie her own storyline into this. Where I'm going to say, Corey, what are you doing? Is that you've been on the show for 3 episodes and you've been in the bottom. You should not want your storyline to be, look at how I fucked up, right? Because it, especially if nobody else seems to be getting the concept that you're going for in this moment, all you're doing is just setting the bar so low for yourself, and production's probably writing you off at this point. So you should be, I want to give her the props for it, but it's just not the right game to play with Drag Race in the beginning of the season.
I think it was also her wig was the same color as the feathers. So it was, her head was like completely lost because the contrast between her skin and the white feathers is so strong, but the contrast between the wig and the white feathers was non-existent. So that shot made, and then I was focusing on that, and then I wasn't focusing on when she ripped it off. And then I agree with whatever Queen said it, but essentially the reveal into the body, the bodysuit, it looked so similar. So it just, there were so many moments I think overall that just didn't work.
But why didn't she make either of them look busted? That's the thing. Like, rip them off. Like, put some like fabric that doesn't make sense on it. Clearly, I know that she wasn't necessarily one of the strongest seamstresses, but someone on your team is, because this is a good cast for it. When it came to this outfit, I love that her drag house put this together, but I think Plain Jane is trying to reign supreme and fuck over her sister and say, haha, bitch, you will not do as well as I did on Drag Race, not on my watch, because I do not think that this was executed well.
I agree with Rue's critique also about the hair. I think she needed a bigger hair to balance it out because she just looks like a little pinhead on top. Yeah. So it just, a lot of question marks. I think it did make sense ultimately why Corey and Joella were the two that were in the bottom two. And
I don't think there was any question.
Exactly. I really don't think there was. And unfortunately, that does mean that we ultimately lose Joella here. The lip sync was to Buttons by the Pussycat Dolls, which I was super excited for when the song started. And then I realized that like neither of them know all the lyrics. So I was extremely upset with them. I was just very disappointed because I was like, this is a song that would be so good for a lip sync. And unfortunately, this is what we got. But
Liana,
it is what it is.
Are we approaching RuPaul level of like, no, if this was someone my age who did this song, those words would have been fine.
I was like, how do they not know all the lyrics?
I genuinely was watching it like, I was like, okay, I think I understand RuPaul being upset Mirage not knowing Cher last year. Like, how do you not know the Pussycat Dolls buttons?
Yep, I know. That is 100% how I felt. So let's see. I'm just trying to look up. Corey King is 24. Joella's 25. Right? So we're like 10 years older than them. So, okay, yeah, maybe it does make sense.
Okay, so when that song came out, they were 10. Okay, let's not pretend they weren't aware. This song was 10. Playing all
you should have been lip syncing at home with, how did we listen to music then? Did we have iPods on your radio, iPod?
On a burned CD from Livewire. Thank you.
On your gramophone.
LimeWire, not Livewire. What am I doing? But then, I had a cousin who was born in 97, and I remember
Okay.
driving her around, and that song that goes, "You could blow my whistle, baby,
Yeah,
whistle."
Florida.
He knew every single
Okay.
word, and
Yeah.
she was
Okay.
all of 8 years old, and I
Proud of
thought to
her.
myself,
Good for her.
"I don't know if I should be playing this song with an
You
8-year-old
should.
in the car," and then she repeated every word to me, and I went, "I'm fine." She didn't hear
That's
that from
fine.
me from the first time.
Yeah.
So, there's no excuse.
I
If that
did.
was playing on the radio and my 8-year-old cousin was listening to that, no problem, and saying all the words, you should know buttons. Come on.
I know, right? Yeah, I had to ask one of my grad students I work with. I was like, "Do you know who Kesha is?" I was like, "Please tell me you know who Kesha is." He was like, "Yeah, I know who Kesha." I was like, "Oh, thank God." So anyway,
When I went to a Kesha concert a couple years ago here in New York City, when I tell you it was all the gays, theys, and girlies that were
yeah, I mean,
born
yeah,
between 86 and
yeah,
94, like that's all.
exactly. Well, he's gay, so that's like the it's like the subset,
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm gonna have. He's like the control group in this
I know.
situation. So who's the experimental one?
Like that's fine. Okay, good. That's how I'll hire you in the lab. You can say, you know who
I can
Kesha is.
trust you now.
Exactly. Okay, so Joella gets eliminated, and Beth and I were talking about this, but RuPaul says, okay, so you are and always will be a Ru girl to Joella, which made Beth and I both go, is that what she says normally? Because as Beth brought up, normally on All Stars, you are and will always be an All Star. So then we went back and we looked, and for Lucky Stars got you are and will always be a beloved member of the Drag Race family. Which is a mouthful compared to Rue Girl. So now we're on Rue Watch. Okay. We're trying to figure out what Rue is saying. I mentioned this, but it's like the Julie Chen era of love each other. We're workshopping whatever that phrase is going to be, apparently. Or it's always Rue Girl and Rue just forgot, or vice versa. I don't know. It felt awkward, right, Beth?
It was okay. I was so taken aback by it that there's like what 3 seconds left of the entire episode. I paused and immediately texted Liana and Amon and was like, "What am I? What?" Because I don't think I've ever heard RuPaul refer to any of the queens that have been on his show as Ru girls. That is a term that was used mostly within other drag queens to denounce like who was quote unquote not denounce announce or whatever who had been on the show and who is like maybe more of a local or regional queen, whoever, right? I've never heard RuPaul say that. Normally he will say like my girls or something like that. And so I couldn't tell. I have this feeling that I can't remember if he even says that line in a normal season of Drag Race. And then this is the first time he's trying to do that. You are and will always be well, I can't say all star because this is the regular season. I thought that they said star normally if it wasn't all star. And then thought that it was so shady that he said Ru girl.
Yeah, that you won't be a star. Like you
You are and will forever be not a star, but a Ru girl.
A Ru girl.
Which is basically just saying you have been on the show. And so you can always say that. And like, I thought that was a little shady. So if you all know better than we do, please also write back. But we are going to continue to keep an eye on this and tally it up. We could do like little, at the end of the season, how many people were dead.
How many people got Ru girls? How many people got stars? How many
were
people
ranking the S tier?
Beloved member of Drag Race family.
I think maybe RuPaul is having AI write those now.
Potentially. We'll find out. And next week, the queens are going to be performing an RDR live. That's going to be back again. So I'm sure we'll have another queen eliminated. We'll be able to check the line on that one. Is there anything, Beth, that you want to say about this episode, Drag Race in general, before we wrap up?
No. I think now that we're kind of settling into this season, I'm happy to see some of the queens like Crystal, like I was saying earlier, kind of start to really make a mark for themselves. And I'm impressed that, Acacia is also kind of like sticking around and showing us like, hey, I'm not someone who's just here for a country track, that even though that is the vast majority of the reason why I'm here.
Yeah. Just forget about that.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. We'll be back next week. Oh, plugs. Beth, what do you want to plug? Social media or otherwise?
You can follow me at Beth-Dixon on Blue Sky, or you can follow me at AugustaWind11 on Instagram. I think I'm actually going to be joining the diary room for an episode with Aman and Lagori in the next couple of weeks. So we haven't recorded that yet. We're going to record it next week. So we still have some time, but I'm excited. I'm excited to chat with them a little bit about some Big Brother.
Yes. And you can follow Amon on all socials at Amon Adwin. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Liana Ism. Check out the Puy and Liana Lounge. Our 3rd episode is up. I really want you guys to listen. It's been so fun and it's totally different. If you just want something that is a quick, especially 2X, that's like a 30-minute listen, good vibes. Enjoy it on the weekend, in your week, whatever the case is. So you can check all of that out, puyandliana.com. We're on YouTube on the RHAP channel. And that does it for us. So leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes. And thank you to the whole RHAP team for all of their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.